we thank him again for making it possible for us to plan that we want to have today's program. Um, Today's program is actually one of the programs and activities lined up for the 1441 conference of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit. The theme of the conference is actually building a sustainable future. Today is the day 6 of the program, and we have the activity B, and activity A has already taken place. So this is activity B for today. We are having a conference plenary. So I want to use this opportunity to welcome each and every one of us to this program. So we have many people joining us from different parts of the world. You know, this is a webinar, so we have people from all over the world joining us for this conference. So as you're coming in, I welcome you all to this conference, and I greet us all by saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All right. So at the moment, I want to give some of our attendees the opportunity to still join us. We have many of them. So because we planned this program to actually commence at 2, and this is 3 minutes past 2. So in the meantime, I would allow for the next 2-3 minutes to allow some other people join us. Currently, we have about 23 participants, and we are expecting nothing less than 100 or 200 participants. So we can have as many as possible to join us. So I would not want us to limit that to just the 20 people or 20 something people that we have. So I'd like us to hold on a bit just for the next 3-4 minutes to allow some other people join us. So if you're just coming in, you're welcome to the 1441 conference of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit. I'm your host, the moderator of this program. My name is Abdul Hakim Qasim. So you're very much welcome. So before I take some other items like the introduction of guests, I just want us to take note of the fact that this program, as we are viewing it here, it's actually live on YouTube. It's holding here on Zoom, but at the same time, it is live on YouTube. Some people are also joining us via Facebook. So you're very much welcome. So again, the program is a conference plenary as part of the activities lined up for this year's 1441 annual conference of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit. Now, one key thing we need to note about this year's conference is the fact that it is an election conference, and for that, it means at the end of this conference program, God willing, we'll be having a new set of leaders that would set the affairs of the society for the next 3 years. So that is the climax of the programs that we have for this year's conference. But before then, this is a conference plenary, and inshallah, we would be discussing something very, very interesting that relates to the educational system. We would be looking at the courses for the future, assessing the current educational system. So that is the central theme of today's discussion. So we are looking at the educational system, especially the curriculum and the relevance, the educational system itself, and looking at the courses, the programs and activities that happen within the educational system. How relevant are they to the 21st century? How relevant are they to the needs of the Nigerian society in relation to the rest of the countries of the world? So how fit is our educational system? How well is it preparing the youths for the future. So I have so like I said, we are welcoming each and every one of us to this conference. So my name is Abdul Hakim Qasim. I'm the moderator. So we have okay. So like I said, we have many participants joining us. So we're still waiting for many of us to join. So we already have 31 participants. So like I said, we are trying to take our time to allow for more participants to join us. All right. So you're welcome. And inshallah, would get back to this conference as soon as possible. Just give me a minute while I try to quickly go through the lineup of the program.
لها ما لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين اللهم استر عوراتنا وآمن روعاتنا واحفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن أيماننا وعن شمائلنا ومن فوقنا ونعوذ بعظمتك اللهم أن نغتال من تحتنا اللهم إنا نسألك الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير ما سألك منه نبيك وحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم سألك منه نبيك وحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها اللهم إنا نسألك حبك ورب من والعمل الذي يبلغنا اللهم لك أسلمنا وبك آمنا وعليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وبك خاصمنا وإليك حاكمنا واغفر لنا ما قدمنا
Now, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
وما أعلم
You're welcome once again to the 41 conference of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit. My name is Abdul Hakim Qasim, and I'm the moderator of this program. This is one of the programs outlined for this year's conference. Like I said, today is the day 6, and this is the second activity for the day. And we are trying to educational system of Nigeria vis-a-vis its relevance to the needs of the Nigerian society. The theme is the courses for the future, assessing the current educational system. All right. So, like I said, the plenary session that we're having today is part of the programs and activities outlined for this year's conference. The theme of this year's conference is building a sustainable future. For this plenary session, we have invited notable guests that would take us through some of it. So our keynote speaker actually is Professor Ahmed Adedeji from the Department of Pharmacology, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoyi, Ogun State, Nigeria. Apart from the keynote speech, we would also be having a panel discussion, and we have 3 discussants who will take us through the discussion, the panel discussion. The first of them is Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, who is an engineer, he is a lecturer, he is currently the director of Flexible Skills Development Center, Yaba College of Technology, Lagos, Nigeria. For those of us that don't know, Yaba College of Technology is one of the foremost tertiary institutions in Nigeria. We also have in the panel to discuss this theme with us, Engineer Saeed Balogun. Engineer Saeed Balogun, popularly known as SB, is the Senior Special Assistant on Science and Technology to the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. So we have Engineer Saeed Balogun also on the panel. Then we also have Mr. Sulaiman Ogunmuyiwa, who is a quality assurance officer. He is a counselor. He is an educational administrator, and he works with the Education District 6, one of the districts of the Lagos State Ministry of Education. So those are the members of the panel that we have for today. And the chief host of this conference is none other than the Amir of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit, Dr. Saeed Ashafa. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So without any further ado, let me check. Currently, we have 49 participants. You're all welcome to this plenary session. We already have 50 participants now. So you're all welcome. Let me quickly say this, that for us as participants, you're welcome to this plenary session. And so one thing I just need to inform us is the fact that apart from our panelists and the keynote speaker, as well as the chief host and other technical officials, for us, we have opportunity to send our questions, comments to the chat room. It's not actually, it's for question and answer actually. We have a special question and answer button on at the top of this platform. So there you can drop your comment, you can drop your question and answer when the time comes. All right. So without any further ado, we are starting this program. And by tradition as Muslims, it is important that anything that we do, we commit in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is our guide, he is our protector, he is our Lord, and he is the one that holds the dominion over the heavens and the earth. So in that regard, it is important that we allow him into our midst to guide us in whatsoever we want to do. So for that reason, I would like to call Mr. Saeed Adegun, Mr. Saeed Adegun, to give us an opening prayer to open this program. Malam Saeed Adegun, Bismillah, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا ولم تغفر لنا وترحمنا
Ameen.
May Allah bless our gathering.
Ameen.
May Allah make all our efforts to come to success, to bear fruit.
Ameen.
May Allah not deny us the reward of this gathering. These speakers, may Allah guide them to the right, beautiful speech and make every conclusion to be beneficial to all, irrespective of the faith. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
Ameen.
الفاتحة. بسم الله
بسم
الرحمن
الله
الرحيم.
الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله رب
الحمد
العالمين.
لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. We thank Malam Saeed Adegun for that opening prayer. You would see that this is the new normal, as it is said. Malam Saeed Adegun, actually, if you can note, his background is actually on the road. You could hear the background of cars and vehicles moving on the road. But the thing is, there is nothing stopping us. It's part of the uh, advantage or the benefits of technology that we can always leverage on our connectivity, regardless of wherever we are, regardless of the situation. Things have got to move. So this is the new normal, and we've got to adjust to it. Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide our deliberations on this floor. Allahumma ameen. So at this juncture, we want to take it a step further, and that is to take a message from the glorious Quran. The glorious Quran is the ultimate testament. It is the last of all the heavenly scriptures Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to mankind as a source of guidance. And in everything that we do, the Quran is a perfect source of guidance because it is one unique book that will not need revision for it to be relevant into whatever situation you might find yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has deemed it fit that the best of all will actually come last. And that is the Quran, the ultimate testament. Now, from this testament, everything that we've got to do in our lifetime, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already explained it and has already, captured it in the Quran. So there is nothing that you want to think of that you, as far as this life, the life of this world is concerned, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left unexplained. That is nothing. So it is from that same testament that I want to take a message this afternoon. So, and to do that for us, the message from the glorious Quran, I have the honor and privilege to invite my Ustaz Abdul Basit Abdul Salam, who would give us the message from the glorious Quran, first in the mother tongue of the Quran itself, and that is Arabic language. Then he would also give us a translation so that for those of us that do not understand the Arabic language, we can have the benefit of knowing the meaning of what he has recited to us. But one thing is, it is not an excuse for us to say that it's because I don't understand Arabic, that's why I am not reading the Quran, or that I'm not following the instructions of the glorious Quran. That is not tenable as an excuse. So for that reason, join me as I welcome Malam Abdul Basit Abdul Salam to give us the message from the glorious Quran. Bismillah. Malam Abdul Basit.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حميم تنزيل من الرحمن الرحيم كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون بشيرا ونذيرا فأعرض أكثرهم فهم لا يسمعون وقالوا قلوبنا في أكنة مما تدعونا إليه وفي آذاننا وقر ومن بيننا وبينك حجاب فاعمل إننا عاملون قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فاستقيموا إليه واستغفروه وويل للمشركين الذين لا يؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم أجر غير ممنون قل أئنكم لتكفرون بالذي خلق الأرض في يومين وتجعلون له أندادا ذلك رب العالمين وجعل فيها رواسي من فوقها وبارك فيها وقدر فيها أقواتها في 4 أيام سواء للسائلين ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان فقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طوعا أو كرها قالتا أتينا طائعين. The English meaning. Hamim. This is a revelation from the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. A book whose verses have been detailed and an Arabic Quran for a people who know. As a giver of good tidings and a warner, but most of them turn away, so they do not hear. And they say, our hearts are within coverings from that to which you invite us, and in our ears is deafness, and between us and you is a partition. So walk, indeed, we are walking. Say, O Muhammad, I am only a man like you, to whom it has been revealed that your God is but one God. So take a straight course to him and seek his forgiveness, and woe to those who associate others with Allah. Those who do not give zakah, and in the hereafter they are disbelievers. Indeed, those who believe and do righteous deeds, for them is a reward uninterrupted. Say, do you indeed disbelieve in he who created the heavens and the earth in 2 days and attributes to him equals? That is the Lord of the world. And he placed on earth firmly set mountains over its surface. And he blessed it and determined therein its creatures sustenance in 4 days without distinction for the information of those who ask. Then he directed himself to the heaven while it was smoke and said to it and to the earth, come into being, willingly or by compulsion. They said, we have come willingly. Indeed, the word of Allah too.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Indeed, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are true. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who in his infinite mercy has made it possible and easy for Malam Basit Abdul Salam to give us the recitation from the Gross Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in knowledge and understanding. For those of us that have listened to the recitation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the reward for listening to his words. I pray that he gives us the wherewithal to be able to follow the injunctions contained therein. Allahumma ameen. For those of you that have just joined us, you are very much welcome to the conference plenary of the 1441 AH annual conference we also take a cursory look at what is happening around us. And it is for that reason that the society has deemed it fit to organize this conference plenary for us to take a look at an issue that is very, very critical to the society. And as a student organization, we feel that it is important that we take a look at the educational system in Nigeria itself. How relevant is it? And that is why for today, we are looking at the courses for the future, assessing the current educational system. So we have today in our midst erudite speakers, important personalities, dignitaries who have graced this session with us. So we have in our midst first the chief host of this conference session is the Amir himself, the president of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit, and the person of Dr. Saeed Ashafa. Also with him, we have our keynote speaker. Now, Dr. Ashafa should get set for his opening remarks before we go into the main keynote speech. So the keynote speaker is Professor Ahmed Adedeji from the Department of Pharmacology, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agor Iwoyi, Ogun State, Nigeria. So he would deliver the keynote speech. After that, we would go into a panel session so that we can have different angles to this particular topic, talking about courses. And when I say courses for the future, I do not mean courses, that is CRS. I actually mean COURSEN, whatsoever level of education that you might belong. Now, how relevant are they relevant to the future of you as a student, of Nigeria as a society, and how relevant actually is it to the needs of our system? So we want to take an analysis, an assessment of the current educational system that we have in Nigeria. So as part of the panelists, we have Dr. Ibrahim Abdul from Yaba College of Technology, Yaba here in Lagos, one of the foremost tertiary institutions that we have in Nigeria. Then we also have engineer Said Balogun, who is the senior special assistant to the governor of Lagos State on science and technology. So he is here with us. We will also have Mr. Sulaimon Ogumwewa, who is a quality assurance officer with the Lagos State Ministry of Education, specifically Education District 6. He is also a counselor and an educational administrator. So that is the roll call of the guests that we have currently in our midst. Checking the list of our participants, alhamdulillah, currently we have 81 participants that have signed up for today's program. So let me just tell us that as the program progresses and as we'll take some of these discussions, I want us to probably take note of our comments and questions. We have a platform. If you check, the top of your, platform of this page, you would see that your Q&A there. So you can always drop your comments and questions on that platform. So when it gets to the time for us to take questions and answers, I would do that. Let me just also inform us that this program, yes, it is currently being hosted on Zoom. It is also live on YouTube and also on Facebook. So let us take note of that. And we are very much delighted and appreciative and grateful to you. So I want to invite our host to give us the welcome address. So at this juncture, I want to call on Dr. Said Ashafa to please give us a welcome address. Amir, sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله عليه وعلى آله وصحابته أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity. Inshallah, as we have rightly heard from the moderator of this program, we are on the plenary session of one of our outline programs for this year's annual conference of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria Lagos State Area Unit. This is a plenary session. We commence our program with some activities which are tagged as pre-conference since Monday, the 20th of Zulhijjah, this month. So inshallah, I am welcoming you all to this plenary session today, which is the day 2 of the conference proper. The theme of our conference this year is building a sustainable future. Building a sustainable future, we have heard this repeatedly from the moderator. And why have we chosen this? And why is what we are doing today? We are all familiar with the current global crisis that has engulfed everyone, and that is in the COVID-19 pandemic. This has come to impose on us certain things that are not, usual. And one of this is the concept we are all hearing now, which is the new normal. With the new normal, it is obvious that we can, have the feeling of what new normal is, even in our streets, in the public buses, and so on and so forth. So there is no doubt about the fact that this new normal is going to be redefining almost everything we are going to be doing. So for us as seekers of knowledge, as students organization, we want to use this particular segment of our annual conference to
Hello. Hello, Amir, are you there?
We are going to be seeing our programs, academic areas of studies being redefined in terms of scope, in terms of discipline and concept. So all these are very, very vital for us as seekers of knowledge. And this is the reason why we have invited senior academics, astute practitioners, those who theorize in the classrooms and also, practice on the field to us this afternoon. So I hereby want to welcome into our midst people like Professor Ahmed Adideji from OOU, Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, Mr. Sulaiman Ogumewa, and my dear friend, Engineer Said Balogun, who is a senior special assistant to the governor of Lagos State. So all these people will be setting direction for us this afternoon in this our chosen theme of discussion, that is courses for the future. So on this note, I'm going to stop here by giving our invited guests the opportunity to deal with the task imposed on them this afternoon. I want to believe we are all going to gain immensely from this afternoon's activity. I welcome us all once again, and I want to assure us that by God's grace, at the end of this session, we are going to gain a lot of knowledge and a lot of skills to engage with our various disciplines after this time out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has made it possible for the Amir to give us that welcome address. So he has told us why we are looking at building a sustainable future as a theme of this year's conference, and that today's plenary session is actually one of the programs outlined for the plenaries for this year's conference. This year, like I said, is the 1441 edition of the annual conference of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos City Area Unit. And this is an election conference. So today's program is actually the 6th day of the conference program and the 2nd day of the conference activity proper. The conference proper actually started yesterday, while the program and activities lined up for this conference actually started since Monday. So it's a week-long program. And alhamdulillah that we are here for today's plenary session, and we are taking a look at our educational system. Yes, we are in the era of COVID-19, the new normal. We've been like this, at least for Nigeria, we've been in this situation. We had our first case of, COVID-19, February 27 of this year. So, and we are already in about the 6th month of the conference. All right. So, alhamdulillah. So that is it. So that's the theme of the conference. The courses for the future, assessing the current educational system. You can see the banner there. All right. So at this juncture, we are moving to the keynote address, and like the Amir has rightly told us, our keynote speaker is Professor Ahmed Adedeji. Professor Ahmed Adedeji is from the Department of Pharmacology, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Ago Iwoyi, Nigeria. So he would actually, his keynote speech will be on the topic, the courses for the future, assessing the current educational system. So at this juncture, I will hand over to Professor Adedeji to take us through the keynote speech. Professor Adedeji, Bismillah, sir.
Thank you very much. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika la wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Dear brothers and sisters, we give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given us the opportunity to gather together online, a significant change and transition in our activities as Muslim youths, as Muslim students, as Muslim community. And this is highly appreciated of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had used to telling us in the Quran about life and the change and the control which is in his own control. To him belongs all dominions of the heavens and the earth, and he controls it, and he gives it the direction he so desires. And long before our creation, he had asked to be written everything that shall happen. In the course of executing it, this new change, new system had come to us. That we are alive, we're so grateful to God. And for giving us the opportunity to still associate, we thank him. My keynote speech will not take long because I know there are colleagues that are here present and will be doing justice to the discussion. I want to recognize the Amir and thank him for the opportunity to interact with our colleagues, friends, brothers and sisters to make this keynote as the address. I also join him to welcome our colleagues and senior colleagues that are present who will be interacting with us in this session. So as not to take time much, I would like to share with us very important things. It is very clear to every one of us that sin will not be the same again, that we have come to a new norm, a new normal, and our life will start to move forward from the events that had unfolded in the last 6 to 7 months. And with it, we shall live. And with it, we shall redesign our effort. And with it, we have to go into the future. So if COVID had come in by Allah's design, whether covertly or overtly designed by human, it is Allah's design. And it is his permission that allowed it to move. So we have gotten to a point where we have to interact with the system. It is very, very timely that the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria Lagos Area Unit organized this important program. This program obviously is to make us open the scope into the future and see what should we be preparing for. We had experienced yesterday. We had applied the knowledge of yesterday today. We have redefined today for ourselves. But where shall we go in as we look into the future? Clearly speaking, there is nothing that designs a better future for any community other than the kind and the style or the nature of educational system that is put up for them. To argue a lot about what should we be looking at as our educational system will take us into a very lengthy discussion. Our experience over the years has shown that there are several models that can be put on table. And it is clear to us that we have to move forward. More importantly, that COVID had come in also to redefine a future we would like to go through. Very briefly, I will be taking us through the agenda, the outline of my keynote. I would like us to together look at the dynamics of change, development, and learning, which I had started with. I would also like us to look at the issues in the current higher education amidst technology, fourth technology revolution. That is, we here with us, and as we advance into the fifth technology revolution, and we shall be seeing the sixth, we shall be seeing the seventh. Practical migration of careers into the future, what should it look like? And what should be our own take in this whole scheme of things? What are the opportunities that are available to youths of this federation, and what are the opportunities specifically available to the Muslim youth? If we take a cursory look at what had happened before, there had been several changes that had occurred, and the change is the technology of today is driving us far into reorganizing ourselves and asking ourselves, shall we be relevant in the future if things continue to move this way? Our educational system, is it really helping us? Is it designed to accommodate this change that is befalling us and the future that we're supposed to look at? Every nation all over the world dreams development. Every nation desire it. Nigeria also deserves it. Therefore, it is incumbent on us as a group of people whose instruction from the Prophet, the noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is to learn right from the beginning of life till the end of life. He even instructed us, when it is time to even vacate the surface of the earth, if we had the opportunity and we hear the trumpet being blown and there is one good thing you still want to do it. Therefore, since the instruction has been that we will keep learning, it tells us that the core of survival at any point in time is education. So what kind of education should we have even had? I'm not going to be able to start to x-ray that which we had so far. But I think an indicator is very clear to everybody that we can appreciate. This indicator is that we have, over the years, dreamt development. In the last 60 years of this nation, we are yet to see the desired development. Supposedly, every generation that had come over time in the last 40, 50 years, every 10 years, every 15, 20 years, We welcome new set of people, youths, to take leadership. We welcome people into the leadership. But who are these people that we are welcoming into leadership? What kind of quality do they have? Do they have the requisite skills that was supposed to drive us over each decade or 2 decades every time we had to move forward? Nigeria has been burdened with incompetence and on the side of almost every sphere that we get into. Not that there aren't people that are competent, but the challenge is that those people who are competent are amidst so many that are not competent on one side. And secondly, our curriculum had been designed in such a way that we will ever keep looking for something that we should have had already and then advance beyond. That has been a very big important concern over the little period I have also spent in academia. And I have seen so far that are we really producing the generation that is to take this nation forward? Our colleagues who are experts in education will be sharing more with us about this. But I really want to just quickly say that we are yet to really move to that level that we want to go. And I'd like you to please look very quickly at this slide, which is showing 10 skills that was available in 2015. And look at the way that skill had changed in ranking, suggesting to us that if there is an educational program, primary, secondary, university education, that is yet to address these skills in our curricula, therefore, we might have challenges being the human that it is expected of this nation to drive it to success. Complex problem-solving capacity, coordinating with others effectively, management of people, critical thinking, negotiation, quality control, service orientation, judgment and decision-making, active listening, and creativity were those that were highlighted in 2015 and were ranked 1 to 10 by the World Economic Forum. Further into 2020, 5 years later, look at how they have altered. Complex problem solving had remained on the top. How many of us who are graduates of universities today or graduates of higher education systems anywhere at whatever level, either ordinary national diploma or higher national diploma, have these skills? If we do, we will not be serving where we're supposed to be performing. And we're supposed to take leadership, and we're supposed to guide people to the path that is solving problems with us. That critical skill is missing, and several other ones. So even if you're a graduate of whatever discipline, these skills are not there, the challenge that will be faced is that there will be a lot of problems in moving forward. And if we individuals in this country don't move forward, the families don't move forward, the society don't move forward, therefore the nation moves nowhere. Therefore, we have to try and reorganize our educational system in such a way that it provides us with requisite skills to live into the future. If in 2020 all these skills are very essential, you will find some of them after this discussion and you're able to access the slide, you see some new ones changing for the old. And if we have these ones embedded in our system, it shows that we will have a way to move forward. Our current higher education system in the fourth technology revolution is yet to really be suitable, and it is calling for more attention. Is our computer science curriculum still relevant the way it is? How many graduates are able to come out of the university and stop looking for a job, and they themselves are creating, cloning, or even merging together to form forces that can drive innovation? We have brilliant people, I must confess. We have them all over the world. We really have them dispersed even into better areas. When they are in an enabling environment, they move faster, they do better. Why not Nigeria? Our environment, our educational ecosystem appear to still desire a lot to be transformed. So many of our colleagues in the university teaching also have challenges. Not only the people that are currently learning, and the quality of those who are teaching will reflect on the people that are being taught. And when they graduate, to the extent to which the teacher knows, the students do. Therefore, we might have to re-evaluate our higher education in the real sense of it. And it is not just going to the university. For what purpose am I going there? We need a future where our country has been able to create spaces, large spaces, where people are supposed to feel in the future. As the Internet of Things come our way, as an example of kind of technology that we will see, the future that we're looking at is a future in which everything is driven on technology. Almost everything is driven on technology. Who will drive it? Human. Therefore, skill sets that are required are essential. In the future, we shall be controlling things from our ends, from our homes. In the future, we shall be controlling things from wherever we are. And an example is what we're doing today. Every one of us who had hooked onto this Zoom page or system had an opportunity to hear this presentation. And several other discussions that will be coming thereafter. In the past, do you know how much this will cost? The organization to organize. The people who are Muslim students in different parts of Lagos to come together. The hosts will be spending, the invited will be traveling, all with a lot of things. And here we are in the corners of our homes, in our offices, and we're able to also do a lot of things. The future we're going to look at will be that future in which I describe sometimes we will need to Bluetooth human beings. No, Bluetooth in quotes, sorry. Meaning there will be transposition that system mechanism that we will develop. Because the problem of traveling long distances on our road must have a way to stop. We should find a way by which we will be able to transpose people from one point to the other. As an individual, I really wish and dream that I will be able to get a system that will freeze the blood and then recompose it very quickly in another realm, and the person will have traveled. The future is bright, but this future must be prepared for. Otherwise, Nigeria as a nation and we as population within it will become more enslaved to those who have new technology. Imagine that the vaccine which has been brought out by Russia had come from Nigeria. Do you know what economic impact that will be? And there are people in this country who are able to also put their theories together and put the practice in place and put the vaccine on table. But the system is yet to be in place to help them to do it well. And we're so corny sometimes that we also pick ourselves. The reality is that we must have the best of learning that we have to do. Internet of Things has come to stay, and nobody will be able to do much about that. Now into the summary, before just rounding up, I'd like to state that my colleague students, those of us that are also in different career, should start to look into the future and to migrate gradually. I give us an example of some of the courses that will definitely find places in the future as we grow. One of them is all courses relating to sustainability. For example, every day the environment that we are living in is faced with serious challenges, and therefore people need to understand what the environment is and how do we sustain our life in this environment. People who will have to manage others in their businesses, to manage people in law, in legal issues. Those are ways by which we will sustain our system somehow and build science, almost everything around science. For example, there is digital law now that is going to come up as a way of moving forward because the courts are now getting online gradually. So court system is being built in that area. Those people who are in public health sector should rejoice that a future is bright for them. But how are they going to plug into that future? It is very clear that we will forever need to maintain our health system. Therefore, doctors, nurses, and technicians that are in that discipline will continue to advance. What they will need to do more is to be acquainted with new technologies that are solving problems, analyzing situations very fast, and able to diagnose without too much trouble, and able to also build systems for drug development, for solutions for protein medications that are coming from biochemistry end. Global epidemic like this one that is available with us will always put public health sector in the lead. So people who are in public health will definitely find continuous job and relevance in our system. Those who read robotics or those who are planning to do so will find relevance. It is estimated that between 2012 and 2020, robotics will be responsible for about 2 million to 3.5 million jobs. Therefore, those who are able to manipulate it will always find a place for themselves. These are people who are software engineers, these are people that are in mechanical, electrical. They will remain relevant with the advancement in technology. Business analytics will also be very important as we move forward. All courses relating to this and sharing ideas that builds personnel for business analytics will be relevant for every one of us that are currently running our businesses today. Want to see what future it has. I make quite a quick example on this case. We just currently evaluated people who are interested in the non-interest intervention program of the CBN. And we were looking in 1 week, we were looking for how many companies, how many businesses would like to venture into it, and then will be interested in using cluster system and technology to drive it. We found over 700 people already apply, telling you that many people are willing to adopt the technology. And when they were asked, what they were asking for is how fast we can help them to document things, to get them prepared for CBN loans that are on this non-interest business. This is one thing that makes people in analytics very relevant. People with computer science understanding, people with application of data science to help project into the future. We also have one area where scientists, accountants are also very relevant. Putting together simple cash notebook, cash book for them to document our small and medium enterprise, to document what they do on a daily basis. This requires technology, and we're currently doing that in our institute, trying to find a software that is easy to make a cash flow for anybody, very easy, adaptable for any individual who is selling on the street. These are things that are talking about the future. Petroleum engineering will be relevant. Biomedical engineering will be relevant. Biometrics will be relevant. Forensic science will be relevant. Computer game designers or computer application designers will be relevant. And cybersecurity people will be relevant. These are the top 10 degrees of the future that have been listed by institutions in the United States that had called it from. It's also the same with us as we move into the same future with them. I would like to round this up by telling us that our future can be better defined by the education we have. And this education resides in our primaries, secondary, and higher education systems. And it is important for us as Muslims, and then as organization, to start to engage our people on so many skill sets that is required for the future. As I am rounding off mine, I believe strongly that my senior colleagues and others that are present here during the deliberation will be highlighting key areas that we should pay attention to. The Muslims are expected to lead into the future, to serve others. I am not asking that you lead by leading for leading's sake. No, that we are responsible to serve others because this responsibility is on us. That is the message from the Quran in Surah Al-Hajj to us. Allah has chosen you. Therefore, you are looking into the future, run for it and work for it. Do not only just sit and wait for all provisions to be made. No, as an organization, it is important for us to put in place things that can move us forward. There's nothing wrong in MSSNLagos area unit starting a university of its own at the moment that we are now, and looking into the project, into the future, and bringing in Muslims and non-Muslims alike to learn into the future of this country. Over 60 years of our 56 years of our existence as MSSN or thereabout, I am sure that we are ripe enough to do a lot of things. If the government is yet to reconfigure it, let us advance what government had provided today, and we take responsibility for the future of a new generation of young people, youth, Muslim and non-Muslims alike, so that they can fit into the future and Nigeria can have a better one. I am apologizing for taking this long time and unable to get the video, to get you see my face because of the technology challenges. But I really thank the Muslim Students Organization, Student Society of Nigeria, the Amir, and other members of the cabinet that have put this together. I will be stopping here because I'm sure that other colleagues have some other things to say. Thank you very much for listening. وقولوا قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who in his infinite mercy had made it possible for our keynote speaker, Professor Ahmed Adedeji, to take us through that wonderful keynote speech. In a very short while, Prof was trying to apologize for taking our time. In fact, I think I should actually, on behalf of the organizers, apologize that probably we actually did not have enough time for him to really take us through that keynote speech. Sincerely, he captured the essence of this discussion. He has taken us through a lot, and especially the one that captured my attention is analysis of the top 10, skills in 2015 and in 2020, and to see how things changed drastically. Now, looking at all these skills, unfortunately, I was trying to look out for some of these conventional courses that we have in our university today, and I could not find anyone, not just one. I can't even find a single one there as a skill that I can say, yes, this is something that we're actually building within our university system. That's, pretty pathetic. But then we have to start from somewhere. And we thank MSS for starting from this, at least, creating the awareness and starting the discussion. So the conversation has to start from here. We thank our prof for that wonderful, keynote speech. And I love the notes on which he ended that speech. And that has to do with the challenge he threw at the incoming leaders of the society. Like we said, this conference is an election conference, and new leaders would emerge latest by this time tomorrow. So what then do we have as an agenda? We need to look at it critically. He said MSSN as an organization that is 56 years old is ripe enough to have its own university if we feel that the universities that we have in Nigeria are really not taking or preparing the youths of this country for the future. There is nothing that stops us from actually taking the lead in doing that. So many thanks to Prof for that. We always say Surah Al-Kawthar for Prof. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless him. He is indeed a shining light for Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not allow that light to be extinguished in very quickly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prolong his life for his service and for the service of humanity. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Wasalli rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We currently have 121 participants on this platform. If you've just joined us, you're welcome to the plenary session, the conference plenary session of the 1441 conference of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit. Like we said, this conference and the theme of is the fact that we are looking at the courses for the future, assessing the current educational system. So we've already listened to the keynote speech from Professor Ahmed Adedeji. So because of time, we'll be moving very quickly. We'll be moving to the panel discussion. Now we have our discussants very much here with us. We'll have 3 discussants that will take us through the panel session. And the first of them, we have Dr. Ibrahim Abdul. I want to quickly do an introduction of them again before I hand over to them one after the other. I call on them one after the other. The first is Dr. Ibrahim Abdul. He is a director of Flexible Skills Development Center, Eba College of Technology, Lagos, Nigeria. Dr. Ibrahim Abdul is also an engineer by training, so we need to take note of that. So he is a doctor, an academic doctor, and at the same time an engineer. So inshallah, I shall be taking us through educational skill set and education skill set and the 4th industrial revolution. We also have in our midst engineer Said Olushola Balogun, popularly known as SB. He is a Senior Special Assistant on Science and Technology to the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. He shall be taking us through leveraging technologies in teaching and learning process. And the third discussion shall be on courses of the future, assessing the quality of basic education system in Nigeria. And that will be handled by Mr. Sulaiman Ogumewa, who is a Quality Assurance Officer with Education District 6, Lagos State Ministry of Education. I am your host, Abdul Hakim Qasim, and the chief host of this program actually is Amir of MSSNLagos State Area Unit, Dr. Saeed Ashafa. For those of you that have just joined us, this program is actually reaching you live on Zoom. It's also live on YouTube. And we would like to tell us that you have the opportunity to send in your questions. We have a platform for that. I can see some people are already sending in their comments. So we are taking note of your question. So let me appreciate Mr. Salisu Monsuru, who has actually sent in a comment. We also have an anonymous attendee. I like that Mr. Abdurrahim. May I also include our name so we know who exactly is asking a question? I think I only have one question yet. So by God's grace, inshallah, I just hope Prof will still stick around for us to be able to attend to some of this questions. But right now, we want to move into the discussion proper. We are moving to the discussion segment, the panel discussion specifically. Now, the first speaker is Dr. Ibrahim Abdul. Like I said, he will be taking us through education, skill set, and the fourth industrial revolution. Might be looking at it. What exactly is the fourth industrial revolution? Is something that we must take note of. The first, industrial revolution actually made use of water and steam to mechanize production. The second made use of electric power to create mass production. The third used electronics and IT to automate production. So we are in the fourth revolution. So I will not do the analysis of it. I'll allow Dr. Engineer Ibrahim Abdul to take us through what exactly we mean by fourth industrial revolution, and how exactly can we channel our educational system as well as the preparation, the skill set necessary for us to really function in that fourth industrial revolution. So at this juncture, I invite Dr. Ibrahim Abdul to take us through this panel discussion. The panel discussion will just be for 10 minutes each, inshallah, so that we'll have enough time to interact with participants on this platform. So Dr. Ibrahim, over to you, sir. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalam ala ashraf al-mursaleen. Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Ayyuha al-ahibba, assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We give thanks to Almighty Allah for His mercies over us. I will just want to say that I'll be building on what the keynote speaker have said, and I will be going very fast through my slides. But I want us to have one mindset. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَا تَحِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Do not despair.
Sir, may I screen? Probably, sir, stop the video and do concentrate on the slide, because like the video is actually slowing down the connection.
Okay. All right. So do not despair. Do not be sad. You will have the upper hand. You will be uppermost if truly you are Muslims. Whatever the state of affairs in our country, whatever the state of our preparedness for the future, Muslims should always take the lead, be bold, stand up, and be amongst the champions for improvement of whatever the situation is. So I wouldn't want us as youth to just look at how our educational system is not good, our this is not that, and then you have that to be the cause of backwardness for yourself. No, that is not Islam. As Muslims, you look at the challenge, you take on, you tackle the challenge headlong, so that you will be uppermost, as Islam has actually told us. So I want us to look at the fourth industrial revolution. Just as the moderator have said, there have been revolutions and revolutions, industrial revolutions, various one, and also it has its impact on career and the era in which we are now. What are the skill sets that are important and the one that will fit the fourth industrial revolution? And then what is the paradigm shift in education? Briefly, just to cast our mind back, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. Already we are in it. So the slide says 1969, that's an error. We are in it now. 1969 was the beginning of the era of the third industrial revolution, whereby electronics, telecommunications, and computers were on the rise. But that situation now is fast giving way to virtual reality, Internet of Things, and so many other things. And we are all witnesses to the happenings and the changes that we are having now. The third, the fourth industrial revolution definitely bring us so many changes. Is characterized by, we are in an era now whereby when you hold your phone, you can talk to somebody who is far away in London and so on and so forth. But by the time we get deeper into this revolution, we may not actually have to hold any gadget. Probably you have to be pressing the buttons on your hands if you have the chips there, and then you'll be talking directly with people. That is where we have barriers. You remove barriers between biological and we have robotics and everything controlling the situation. And also you have era of autonomous vehicles and so on and so forth, nanotechnology. This is the era in which we are going. And the effect of this pandemic has actually brought us so near to the reality of what is going to happen. And you will see that is why many people were shouting that the pandemic itself is designed to bring in the 5G and so on and so forth. They are apprehensive of what is coming. But then, as Muslims, as I have said, there is nothing to be apprehensive about, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that, look, all you mankind, even if you want to reach as far as heaven, go. You cannot go except with our permission. And we should not forget that nothing happens, whether by design or by accident or anything, without the actual permission of Allah. So as far as Muslims are concerned, they got themselves prepared for what is coming and for what is available, facing them as reality, and then tackle it. You have this fourth industrial revolution impacting on various careers. So as far as I'm concerned, you now know that this pandemic has shown us that we can actually work from home. It is not compulsory that everybody should be at work 9 to 5 or 7 to 7 all the time. Some work can be done from home. That is what we'll be facing in future. The future of employee and career will be changing, whereby you can work anywhere, you can use any device to work, different from what we know used to happen before. And that is, I'm moving fast with my slides, so I would like the moderator to I am now talking about impact on career. Yeah, so you have changes happening here and there, unlike what is happening before. But just as I have said, as Muslims, just know what are the probable changes that will come in future, and how do you prepare yourself for this change. Forget about the preparation of your educational system. If your educational system is not moving enough, it is not for you to wait and sit and be caught napping. As Muslim youth, it's important for us to look at these coming revolutions and what will be very, very important for us. So as I have said, you have a time when leadership characteristics, leadership traits becomes very, very important. And you have, at times, you will be left to do the work on your own without actually being guided. Just as we are having now, the educational system is changing from the teacher-centered system that we know, whereby the teacher is always there, the lecturer must be there, will talk, and talk. And it's, the emphasis now is on student-centered, the learner-centered system, whereby you take responsibility for your learning. So these are the kind of things that is the fourth industrial revolution will have its impact on career. And rather than just be afraid, we should just be prepared. You should understand what is coming and what do you need, what kind of education you need, what kind of skill sets you need to be able to meet up with the demand of the future, since you know it's going to change. I want to talk us through a journey of academic qualification, especially in Nigeria. We know while we were young, all you have to do is to do your standard 6, equivalent to primary 6. By the time you finish primary 6, you have a job waiting for you. And that is some years back. Gradually, it changes. Then it becomes an era whereby you need to have at least a degree. Once you have your degree, you are sure that you will get a job. The job is always waiting for you. Some people, before they finish their degree, they already have a job. Then an era took over, whereby after having BSc, you have to support it with a master's. And even at times, you have to support it with PhD. And that is already rampant now. You have PhD holders applying to get the job of a bus driver in some industries. So that is telling you that paradigm is shifting and there are changes in the usefulness of academic qualification. Now we are in an era, a different era. We're in an era whereby it is not your education, your paper qualification that matters now. Your skills also matters. Apart from the education you have, your education and skills now comes together to play. What do you know and what can you do? What can you do with your hand? What can you do with your brain? So as students and as youth, we should know that in the future, your education matters, but then it is not enough. We are entering an era that is referred to as post-knowledge era. I want to talk about a little bit about this post-knowledge era, because that is the era in which we are all going into now. Arguably, a research was conducted by a university in Germany on the next skills. And then from there, they postulate that, look, we are in an era whereby you have to focus not only on having knowledge now, but what can you do with your knowledge? What action, what fruits can your knowledge bring? So, there was a time in the industrial age whereby knowledge is very, very important. By the time you have the technology, you become the champion. But now the knowledge is very rampant here and there. You can Google, you can search, you can have the knowledge within a twinkle of a second. You have all the knowledge that you need in a particular area coming to you. You can download, you can read, you can do everything. But then in today, we have what we call a post-knowledge era, whereby you need to be creative, to be innovative, to be able to use that knowledge and transform the knowledge and have the skills that you will be able to solve problems. Solving problems. That is why when the professor was talking about problem solving skills, it's a skill that it's not limited to a particular course, but every individual must try to acquire to a certain extent the knowledge, the ability in that era. So nowadays, the fourth industrial revolution is bringing us to an era whereby knowledge is important, but then it is not enough. You need some other things to add to it to be able to take you to where you are. With knowledge, you need skills. And these skills with knowledge will help you to be able to get to whatever you need. And what are the skill sets that are very, very important for us as youth to be able to acquire? It is important for you to know those skill sets that you need so that you can work on yourself, even if your educational institution is not offering the opportunity for you to have those skill sets. You can on your own acquire those skill sets. And that is why we talk about flexibility in the system. Now, it is important for you, you have access to internet, you have access to social media, opportunities to learn. You don't make it become a tool that will be useless. You know, some youths spend their time doing what will not benefit them on social media, whereas there are skills that will help them in the future that they feel to tap into. So those skills, I want us to look at what we call the future skills model, so that we can understand those skills. I want to talk about one that is very, very important, that even the Muslim Student Society can actually invest in and ensure that they give it to the next generation of youth that they are dealing with. This future skills is talking about the ability to act successfully on a complex problem. Because in future, the changes are so dynamic. If a course is important today, the next time it is no longer important. The next time is out of, look at the way changes is coming to the gadgets that we know. So you cannot say that this knowledge alone will take you for the next 20 years or the next 30 years. Before you know it, it becomes obsolete and you have to learn again. So, but it is important for us to have some abilities within ourselves. And those abilities are something that if you develop yourself in having those things, then you will be able to cope with whatever changes the future has. So, and those are what is referred to as this future skills model. You have 3 dimensions. The first one is about the subject and individual development. Yourself as an individual, you as a youth, what are the skills that you need to acquire for yourself? 1, autonomy. 2nd, self-initiative, self-management, motivation for achievement, personal agility, autonomous learning competence, and self-efficacy. These skill sets are related to you as an individual. What are those things that you should have? You should be able to manage yourself. You should be able to motivate yourself to achieve. You should have a personal agility that wants to drive you to go on and on and on and not relax. Remember what I said. That's what Allah has said it. Wala tahinu, wala tahzanu, wa antum la'alauna. A Muslim is not the person that will be sad. There is one poem that is common with the those in the madrasa. They said, "Laysa fil islami zullu, laysa fihi ma yamullu, kullu ma fihi yujallu, innahu sunnah Muhammad, innahu sunnah Muhammad." There is no meekness in Islam. There is no laziness in Islam. All these are referring to this set of skills that you should have. Personal agility, motivate yourself, be efficient, and so on and so forth. Then learning competence. You should be able to learn. The professor said, the professor said we should learn from cradle to grave. So you are talking about autonomous learning competence, lifelong learning. These are skills that a Muslim youth should have. All youths should have anyway. And they are skills that we can work on because they are going to be very, very important in future. Survival in the future will depend on it. This research, these are things that are done by, not by the non-Muslims. I am referring us to where these researches were carried out. Also, talking about other things that are not personal, object-related skills. Now, these object-related skills is talking about creativity, digital literacy, ability to reflect, and then ability, tolerance for ambiguity. These 4 skills are instrumental skills that every youth should prepare him or herself for, to have, so as to be able to relate with the future when changes happen. So when we're talking about skill sets that are important for the future, this is also important. Digital literacy, because there will be digital evolutions. For you, it is for you to now know how to relate with all these changes, so as to be not to be caught offside. The third set of skills are the organizational related skills, the social skills. That is, when you talk, you make sense making. You don't talk out of sense. You don't relate. You will not be senseless. It is a skill that everybody, when you get into an environment, you know what to say. The Arabs will say "Likulli maqami maqal." For every occasion, there is what you say. It's a skill that needs to be taught, because without it, the coming generation will not be able to fit into the future. Also have future mindsets. You have a mindset that takes you to the future. You'll not be living in the past. So also cooperation skills, being able to work together with people, to be able to flow with a team. This is also a very, very important skill that you should have. Then communication competence. That one is also very, very important. You will not be timid. You will not be shy when it's not necessary to be shy. You will be able to communicate what you mean, so that you'll be understood. Once you don't have those skills. So these are very, very important skills. And I believe our educational system will continue to strive to include it. I am not saying they have included it yet, and I won't say there is nothing like that. But then you don't wait till it becomes so perfect, and you as a youth, you go out for it, go and skill. And it's not just knowledge. When we're talking about skills now, we are talking about competence, and that is why in the diagram they showed it as competencies. There are competencies that you should be competent in each and every area of these skills that we are talking about. We call them skills. We are not saying that you should go and read the book, read. No, you try to do things that will make you to be competent in those areas. When we're talking about communication skills, not just reading book about communication, you communicate. And with that, you'll be able to build the skills in yourself. And that is why where organizations like ours, the Muslim societies, can help their members to build all these skills, involve them in activities that will build all these skills, so that they will be able to meet the needs of the future. And by the time you combine all this together, then you know that anybody that is prepared in this way will be able to meet the future with very bright chances. Let me look at these skills. When I mentioned this, all these skills that I have mentioned earlier are classified by some authors as soft skills. They call them soft skills, so that when you have those soft skills, you'll be able to fit into wherever you need. Now, along with these soft skills, you need technical skills. Technical skills now have to do with your competence in a particular area. Whether you are working in the health sector, whether you are working in the engineering sector, whether you are working in the IT sector, you now need technical skills in those aspects. And it is very important for us to know which of the skills are important. You have a degree in computer engineering, you have a degree in mechanical engineering, but do you have skills related to that will help you to be able to fit into the engineering of the future? We all know that our curriculum are mostly archaic. Up till now, the review of the curriculum system is very slow. And whatever, by the time you are going to graduate, you discover that most of the things that you know in theory are actually non-existent in practice. People are working around it. Institutions are working around it. They're making effort to upgrade curriculum. They're making effort to, but then those efforts, before it becomes perfect, probably you might have passed out of the university. So it is very, very important for you to know what are the skills of tomorrow. When he's talking about the jobs of tomorrow, the World Economic Forum, the researches that were referred to by Prof, there are publications on it. You just go and Google the skills of tomorrow, the jobs of tomorrow, and you'll see what the World Education Forum has been able, Economic Forum has been able to bring out for you. That these are the emerging jobs in the future, and these are the skills that are important for you to have that are related to it. I am now looking at the jobs of the future and the skills that are important for us to have. And it is important for you just to take note of them. Just look at which area suits you most. If you are working in the medical area, it is called the care economy, the health care area. Then there are some jobs that are going to be topmost in the future. It's not everybody that will become a medical doctor. You don't need to spend all your years looking for admission as a medical doctor. Whereas there are other areas, medical areas, that are very, very important. So, and the skills you need for those, to be able to fit in those jobs are also highlighted. Some of these skills.
Engineer Abdul, sir.
Yes,
Assalamu
sir.
alaikum, sir. Please, we are very much challenged with time, and I have actually sent prompters to you.
Okay,
the
so
thing is, yes,
I am ending.
because we still have two presentations left, please.
So I am ending now. So I want to refer us to look at those research, and then know that you have skills that are important, and you can then get them. Our educational system is changing and will be changing to accommodate the need of the future. But then, as youth, you don't just wait. Take the bull by the horn, take the challenge, and then find out, decide where you are going to go, get assistance, get coaches, get mentors, and then grab the skills that you need while you still study what you study. And there is that flexibility in us. We are created, we are multi-talented, you are created to be multi-talented, and you have various opportunities. Make use of those opportunities, and you will be able to fit into the future of job. Entrepreneurship skill is also very important. Let us try to grab it. I will stop there for others to make their comments. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khairan. I want to thank Engineer Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, the Director of Flexible Skills Development Center, Iba College of Technology, Lagos, Nigeria, for that wonderful discussion. And he has actually taken us through the education skill set and the fourth industrial revolution. As much as I would have loved that he continues, because the slide is well prepared, pictorial slides, filled with information, but we are challenged with time. Ordinarily, as we are right now, we are more than 30 minutes behind schedule, but regardless, because it's an interesting and insightful discussion. So that's why I've actually allowed him to, go further. Actually, I'm supposed to have stopped him over 15 minutes ago. But regardless, here we are now. Alhamdulillah, he has taken us through that. Inshallah, the organizers will try as much as possible to make the slides available for us. It's not just for us to listen, but for us to actually act on the pieces of information that we have listened to. And seriously, I must appreciate him because his presentation actually synchronized with the keynote speech delivered by Professor Ahmed Adidiji. And sincerely, we need to work more on, developing those competences that should support our education. That's the long and short of what he has actually told us. The need for us to develop those soft skills. He said post-knowledge era. So those things that we need beyond just what we are taught in the classroom, those skills that that are required in this current system for us to function effectively in this fourth industrial revolution. So COVID-19 has actually brought us closer to the reality of the fourth industrial revolution, as I'm taught by Dr. dull. And he also told us that education is not enough. So inshallah, we have to just continue to improve upon ourselves. And for the fact that he also challenged us as MSS, as a society, that we need to assist or take it up as a challenge that we need to assist our members in building themselves in terms of these soft skills. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. I'm just trying to imagine the level of challenge the incoming administration is going to face, because things are changing. This is the new normal, and we've got, to function in this age of the new normal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the task. Now, at this juncture, I really cannot see Engineer Said Balogun yet, but I know the Malam Sulaiman Ogumewa is very much here with us now. I can see him. And so at this juncture, I'd like to call on him to take us through courses of the future, assessing the quality of basic education system in Nigeria. Now, for many of us, we really don't understand. Basic education is actually the education that takes place. That is the first level of education a child will come across, starting from the early childhood development education, the nursery education, into what we call the basic education, the primary education, and the junior secondary education. That is the basic education. Nigeria launched its UBE scheme in 1999. The law backing of the UBE was actually signed into law in May. It was passed as an act of parliament in 2004. And since then, we've been running the basic education system. So how far so far, and how well, is the basic education, being delivered in our educational system, qualitative, to prepare us for the courses of the future. So to take us through that, I have in our midst, Mr. Sulaiman Ogumewa, who is a quality assurance officer with Education District 6. One of the district, one of the six districts that we have in the Lagos State Ministry of Education. So he will be taking us through that, around the next 10 minutes. So Malam Sulaiman Ogumewa, please, over to you, sir.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. I hope I can be heard clearly.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let me start by appreciating the speakers before me, and also appreciate the MSSN as an organization for taking the front lead in ensuring that quality education is delivered to the citizens. My respect and prayers will always be with the MSS for, like I always say, they have had the greatest impact on my life, and I can never forget the organization. Okay, however, I must say that I got to know about my involvement in this webinar just yesterday, and I have been crazily busy, so I don't have a slide or slides to share. So I'm just going to add my voice to some of the things that have been said. I want to thank the moderator too for helping me to define what basic education is. Basic education, like he said, is divided into two. We have the basic, which takes together the primary and the GSS 1 to 3. Then we have the post basic, which is the SS1 to SS3. So if you actually focus pure basic, it means you are talking about the primary up to GSS3. Now, some efforts were made by government in the recent past to review the curriculum of the schools, the curriculum that is being used for basic education in the country. And they were put under some themes, and we have 10 basic subjects for the basic education. English remains English, the maths remains maths. Then we have a group of Nigerian languages, the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Hausa. And it is expected that every child will take one of the three. Then we now have another group of basic science and technology, BST. And under that, we have 4 subjects. We have basic science, we have basic technology, we have physical and health education, and we have information technology. Then the 5th category has to do with the PSV. It is pre-vocational studies. And here we have Greek, we have Omecons, we have social studies, we have civic education. No, okay, it's just Agric and Omecons. Okay, Agric and Omecons are the PVS. Okay, sorry about that. The pre-vocational has Agric and Home economics. And the 6th category is the religion and national values, RNV. Now, this is where we now have social studies, we have civic education, we have Islamic religious studies, Christian religious studies, and security education. Then we have the 7th group, which is the CCA, cultural and creative arts, where we have art and craft, we have performance art and entertainment, and we have customs and tradition. And the 8th group is the business studies. Okay, where we have commerce, we have bookkeeping, we have account at SS level. Then we now have French language singled out. We also have Arabic language singled out. Now, so the question that we really need to address at this webinar is, do these subjects, are they capable of taking the Nigerian students to the desired future that we are looking at? Now, previous speakers have established that there are broad set of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and value that will be required in the future for us, for the generation coming behind to be able to live successfully. Now, if we really want to have any positive impact in our environment, then we have to ensure that we take some set of skills very serious. Now, if you look at what has been done, I make bold to say that we still have a long way to go in that review. That review that has been done at the curriculum for the basic studies is not going to be able to take us to the courses of the future. The second reason why I would say this is because the information technology was subsumed under a group of people, a group of subjects, whereas there is not going to be learning in future without the information technology. So it has to come out very distinct. So I'm going to give you a classification as a form of advice to wind up my short addition to what has been said so far. We are going to have some level of knowledge that has to do with cognitive and metacognitive skills. Now, cognitive, not just cognitive, metacognitive skills. And this category has to do with critical thinking, creative thinking, then learning to learn self-regulation. Now, these 4 categories of knowledge, must be included at the basic level so that students or learners can actually find a relevant course of the future and settle for. Critical thinking, the ability to be able to think things, in and out. Creative thinking, creating something out of the ordinary. Create something big out of the ordinary. Now, learning to learn. We must have a system, and there are so many apps today that encourage people to be able to learn on their own. And they need to also learn this self-regulation, because even as Muslims, whatever you do, if there is no self-regulation there, you will definitely go out of bounds. Now, the second category of knowledge has to do with what is called social and emotional skills. Now, to some extent, we try to put them in the curriculum, but it is not enough, it's not adequate. Now, we need to teach empathy, teach self-efficacy, and teach collaboration. I give a quick example here. If we have empathy at the leadership level in this country, we will not be at this level of mess that we have found ourselves. People don't care about others. They don't bother about what other people are going through. And taking collaboration to the classroom means that we have to eradicate strict supervision of learners during classwork or during tests. We must be able to allow learners to collaborate with one another when they are doing classwork or when they are writing tests. It is only in exam that we can now say, okay, do your work on your own and don't collaborate with anybody. Ordinarily, the world has come to a point where you don't have to invent something by yourself alone. You need to do things with others. And if this is not taught from the basic level, the same mentality that we have or we had when we were growing up is what will still be in vogue. Now, I'm writing a test, I have to cover my book. I don't want my friend or my colleague to see what I am writing. Why not? Why can't my colleague ask me a question during test for me to remind him? Now, this collaboration is very strong because it takes away competition in the hearts of humans. And we can always collaborate on good things. Now, the third form of knowledge is the practical and physical skill. And the only skill here has to do with information and technology, communication technology. This is going to determine a if you don't have some little manipulative ICT skill. So even press your phone to be able to hook up on a Zoom, activate your voice, bring up your video. So whether you have studied Yoruba, you have studied Igbo, or you have studied Islamic studies, or any subject you have studied, ICT becomes something that is extremely important for you to move on. And finally, is that there is this use of a broader range of knowledge and skill, which will be mediated by attitudes and value. We need to start in a more practical way, imbibe in learners at the basic level, self-motivation, trust, respect for diversity, and a lot of virtues. Now, these are my thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm not coming up with specific courses for the future, but these are the basic skill or basic subject or basic, values that every learner today must have to be able to have a successful course or a successful career in the future. well, I'm not sure if I have been able to speak to the topic that you have given to me. You have to, excuse me. I have only prepared this in the little time that I could create. I pray that Allah will continue to bless us and also be with us. And thank you for having me.
Well, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin, Jazakumullah khairan. Sincerely, I would like to appreciate and thank Mr. Sulaimon Ogumuyiwa for taking us, through that discussion on assessing the basic education curriculum as we have it in Nigeria now, and how well can have they been able to prepare, or can they prepare the current set of students that we have, in our basic education system into the future. And looking at this critically, I looked at all that you have reeled out here, these subjects, and for me, an education is too. I had to look at it and seriously, and for the fact that you're able to conjure or bring out some of these critical skills that need to be taught at the basic level. Seriously, I feel that you've really done justice to the topic. Personally, about my own assessment, these are things we need. It's not just about the subject, but about the core competencies that we need to imbue in our learners, such that on their own, they can now take such decisions on what to do and how to go about their future and the selection of courses. So I'd like to say Jazakumullah khairan to you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reward you abundantly for this wonderful effort. So like I did for others, please, we are very much appreciative of what you've done. And we also thank you for assisting us to manage our time. Please, I know for our participants, some of us have been asking questions. We are taking note of our questions. Very quickly, we would attend to that. But before then, I have with us, I have been able to confirm the presence, and I can see myself, the presence of the Senior Special Assistant to the Lagos State Governor on Science and Technology, Honorable Said Balogun, SB. He's here with us. Alhamdulillah, we've been waiting for him. And at this, what we are doing actually, it's a panel discussion. All right, so the theme of this discussion actually is the courses for the future, assessing the current educational system. So for engineer Said Balogun, who will be taking over the discussion now, he is expected to take us through leveraging technologies in the teaching and learning process. Leveraging technologies in the teaching and learning process. Like we said earlier, this is the era of COVID-19. This is the new normal, and a whole lot of things have been disrupted. But at the same time, learning has to go on. I know very much that although this is not a paid advert, but I know critically that Lagos State government has been doing a lot of work in the area of building the capacity of teachers of public schools to be able to fit into this new normal. And part of it is that they're actually doing a training on Microsoft Teams and some other platforms like that. So, at this juncture, I want to hand over to Engineer Said Balogun to take us through how well, can we leverage on technology as far as teaching and learning is concerned, within our educational system in Nigeria, in the course of, preparing our students for the knowledge or the courses of the future. So, Engineer Said Balogun, please, over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, well, all protocols duly observed, and apologies for joining at this time. Well, primarily with respect to leveraging technologies, in my view, the first thing we have to actually set is what is the goal, before we talk about the leverage, because the goal will tell us the tools we need to use. It allows us, just like we set up the lesson notes, stating clearly the objective of each item in the list. The same thing applies to technology. We cannot just pick technology from any source in any manner or any medium and decide that we want to use technology. So the goal has to be clear. Is it for the purpose of assessment and testing? For purpose of entertaining the students? Or what exactly is it? Or are we trying to improve the ability of the instructors, to have access to faster ways of, doing things and disseminating the knowledge, or faster way of organizing information that they would need, in a specialized form so that it is easy for any teacher coming in to make use of it? Or is it in the form of us assessing the quality of the teachers themselves or the quality of their output to the students? So we have to set a goal for each leverage that we want to do. Because what we're beginning to see today is everybody just wants to talk about e-learning or e-this, but what is the goal? So the goal should come first, should be clearly spelled out, and how we're going to measure the outcomes after the implementation or after the use of the technology is very important. So once you've set the goal, then of course we now need to pick what tools are capable of giving us what we are looking out for in technology. So as we move from the goals into the choice of technology, we need to do what we call a review. So there is almost no technology that is new today, in quotes. So that means someone somewhere or some people somewhere have made use of any of these technology platforms in the past. And with that, you get into selecting the right environment, the right platform. So you get feedback from people who have used some of these tools before to check if the use of the tool meets the goal that is set from the start. So as we evolve, in my own personal experience, for example, the concept of e-learning has a lot of challenge, and I would say post-COVID, it should be a means of probably doing some form of assessment and some form of refreshing the knowledge that has been imparted on the student. So for me, I think it should play more of a supplementary role or to complement what the students get from the classroom, rather than an attempt to make it the mainstream body of knowledge. And the reason is, from my experience of the tools today, there is a wide gap in the communication, in the ability of an instructor to get the feedback of what's actually going on in the classroom. Is the child opening another browser and playing games while the class is going on? Or what exactly is going on? You don't know as a teacher. And these, I believe, are very important communication activities that need to happen within a classroom. So technology is good. We leverage it to make the jobs of the instructors smoother, less stressful. I believe applying it to some levels of assessment is okay, but there's what we call proctored assessment. So today as well, most of the tools we have out there, except for some customized tools, they are not proctored. So if you give a child an assignment to do, how do you know the effort of the student in actually taking the assessment? Did his elder brother or sister just sit down there and tell him this is A, B, C, D? So we need to look at the goals carefully, set our success criteria, and then pick the technology. Wherever we see that the technology is lacking, then we need to improvise. We should not leave it and say, well, that's the platform we've been told to use, hence we leave it like that. So for example, with the current situation now where online is still the main means of teaching students because of the lockdown or the classrooms not being open as we were used to, it means as an instructor, we need to find means of either engaging a student in the class, telling all the students to type a question, to type their questions, even if they have no question, they just need to type something. So this type of things, you'll be able to get information about at least some level of their participation in the classroom. So that is what I would say about technology. And then the role of the parent also comes to play. That how do we want to pick online sources of learning for our kids? Have we been able to test run what they're going to be taught before we just leave them unguided to say, okay, just go on to the Google and start searching? So we also have a role to play as parents to ensure the content that the kids will make use of is valuable. Now, to the general challenge of we in the community. So today, most of the online resources that pupils still have to resort to, majority of them are resources, content created by people outside the country. And for me, it is a real challenge, is a huge gap. And just like we complain that we import everything, we say we import toothpick, import petrol, we import a lot of things. Then we are also beginning now to import, in quotes, content. I feel in the leveraging of technology, just like we have, our respected scholars writing textbooks for students to use, for our peoples to use. I think there was this agency of the federal government that was into the production of research and material development for use in schools. Now we need to extend that research now to the production of content that is usable online for pupils to learn. So when we are teaching, for example, we're teaching the shapes of or the sizes of shapes, or we're doing some triangular calculations, we should be able to have locally generated content produced by our own teachers or by researchers in the educational field to adapt and meet the learning requirements of our country. And even going further, we can start localizing that knowledge, localizing the language in which they will be delivered. So even a child that did not have an opportunity to learn English as a language, with the local language he could speak from his home, could also attend courses in mathematics, in some sciences. And with this, we are creating a new form of economy within our country, which we believe ultimately will boost the GDP of the country. Imagine if we have to adopt online teaching today, and all the, you won't even find the Europeans producing history about Nigeria for you, except you pay them to now produce history of Nigeria for you. And then the question now is, who gets paid? Who gets the job? Is it the history teachers that are here, or the civic and national value teachers that are here, that we can't get, the platform for them to produce the content that is locally applicable to the syllabus that we've developed, or we would have to import that as well. So I think that is a real challenge that we need to ensure that we can develop content, enable our instructors here, our researchers here to produce the content that will fit our educational system, whether it's the Universal Basic Education System, the UBE that we're working on. They should be able to produce content from the first class to the last class in that spectrum. And then when we have that across subjects, we can now start, talking even more about using technology, to impart knowledge in our students. As far as I'm concerned today, most of the electronic content that we still have available, we just have to import them or pick them from YouTube. And I believe if we produce good quality content locally here in Nigeria, we can even start having people from other parts of the world, importing our content, and Nigeria effectively becomes an exporter of knowledge. So that for me will be an effective use of technology in moving our education to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to appreciate Engineer Said Balogun, who has just taken us through that discussion on leveraging technologies for teaching learning process in Nigeria. Like I said earlier, Engineer Said Balogun is the senior special assistant to the Governor of Lagos State on Science and Technology. So, all right. So, now that we have listened to all the panel discussions, okay, so I want to quickly move to the question and answer segment. We have many comments and many questions there right now. I also want to appreciate us all. And for those that still have questions, you can keep posting these questions. I want to start taking them one after the other now. Okay, all right. So I will, the way we want to go about this question and answer segment is this. I take one question, I look at it, then I hand it over to a particular how do I put it, panel member or the keynote speaker to address some of them. All right, so thank you very much. And for those that need this slide, I would like to say that the organizers will try to see how we can actually get that across, those slides across to us. At least we have two slide presentations, the one of Prof and the one of Dr. Ibrahim Abdul. All right. So for those that are also thanking the panelists and the keynote speakers, I will also appreciate you. Thank you very much. So I want to take them one after the other now. I have this one coming from Sulaiman Misbah, who asked that before then, I think I thought I saw some questions earlier. I don't know if at all, probably any of the panelists, probably Prof has attended to that. First, let me check if Prof is still very much with us. Okay, Prof is still very much with us. All right. So let me take those questions. That was one I saw earlier, Prof, sir, and I want you to probably please be part of this. Now, the person was talking about the fact that some of the courses that you listed as courses of the future are actually science-based. That how about those that are in the arts and humanities, or probably those in the social sciences? How, what is it? Is it that their own courses are not suited for the future, or how are they expected? So that's what we have from Sulaiman Misbah, that what is the fate of those studying arts-related courses? That is one. Then someone also said that, how about he that is actually studying mass comm? That what courses of the future can he or she invest his time on? Prof, I would like you to take that while I prepare for the next question, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, brothers and sisters that have asked questions. Those are very, very important questions. I want to apologize to one of our attendees who said that if we knew that all this would be talking about science and technology, why would she or he had been on the platform? I want to please plead with you that it's not intended for science and technology per se. It actually is intended for all of us, including you, whichever discipline you're coming from. It's very clear that whatever we're doing today is building future for everybody in whichever discipline you belong. If it's your humanities, if it is social sciences, if it's art, if it's accounting, if it's business, all we're asking you is that we want to drive whatever you're doing into the future. We want to drive you to be relevant. An accountant should be relevant in the future. A communication expert should be relevant in the future. Whichever discipline you're coming from. When we talk about business analytics, for example, it's not going to be scientists that are going to be there. What we're asking you to do is apply science in what you do. And let me go back basically to our roots as Muslims. What we call ilm is not translated directly the way it is translated as general knowledge, or it is science. What we should have done when we were drawing curriculum for this country, if I were to be alive and I were asked to make a recommendation, was to have made everybody learn science, and then whatever you want to be, build on it. Medicine is built on science. Computer science is built on science. The arts and social sciences are science. Every knowledge is science. But science has certain philosophical things and skills we must learn. And if we do apply it to any discipline, you are just in there and you will get everything right. Science is life. It's
Okay.
talking about how you run your system, how you do it right, how you do it very empirically. How do you get data to translate into meaning things? How do you read weather? Science has been age long. People in astrology also study science. You know, whatever they're doing is using science to write. What we're saying is write on science to excel. For example, we're currently recruiting people for who are accountants, and we're telling them that what we want them to do is to help us solve the problem of micro, small, medium enterprises, so that they can, just like an example I gave, so that they can use information that they have at their disposal to understand what their pattern of business is like. And once they understand the pattern of the business, he as an accountant can predict to them and say, let's go this direction for your business. This is how much we're going to spend for this. Science is just a scale of judgment, sort of, if we want to put it in general, that you apply a knowledge, you apply the driver for your knowledge to excel, to be relevant to solving problems. Science is meant to solve problems. So a lot of things that you see around is not because they are engineers. No. On the second side of it, every nation wants to ride on science and technology to be innovative. And that's why you find science, technology, and innovation. Once we're able to do that as scientists, core scientists, businessmen will have businesses to do. There is no businessman for an estate agent. There's no business for an estate agent if engineers don't construct. If the scientists don't formulate drugs, there is no business for pharmacists, for example. For the people who are dealing in drugs, for people who are manufacturing, for people who are selling. So a lot of chain of responsibilities, a lot of chains of businesses spring from our innovation, our ability to get things to be done. So core scientists are drivers of development. And when we say development, it means that they also provide opportunity for others to lean on what they have so that they can move forward. For example, businesses, small-scale businesses will not be there if we don't have all those products that that person will put together. Now there comes an accountant or a business expert guiding that person to say this is what we should be. And critical mindedness and skills, critical skills, analytical skills helps you with your business methodology, which you have learned in university, or with your business administration to be able to move forward. When we talk about skill is what you need to have, and then your profession will build on it so that you can succeed better. So people in mass communication have a lot to do to gain from our scientific exploration. Please, I know that it is a short time. This is a whole concept of how do we apply the science in our disciplines. And I think as we move forward, MSSN will be organizing such, or other groups will be organizing such, that we find time to let us do a thorough job on the analysis of application of science to all our areas of life. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. I want to ask this question, one of the questions that we have here, and I want to direct this to Dr. Abdul. Someone commented that, now looking at all the skills, but before that, I would like to advise our panelists to probably make the answers as brief as possible so that we can take more questions. That is one. Then number two is I will also like to thank all those that have written comments here. First, I want to tell us that this is not about the fact that it's not just about sciences. Prof has already explained that to us. But one key thing we must know is, as good as Mark Zuckerberg is with Facebook, if ordinarily he does not have the business acumen, there is no way he could have actually emerged as the best, one of the richest men in the world. He would have the skills, but he would not be able to market it. So let us take note of that. So it's not about the fact that this session is only meant for science students. All right, so Dr. Abdul, please, very quickly. Someone asked that with all the skills that you have highlighted, which institution or where exactly can we find these skills if at all we want to learn them? Dr. Abdul. Is Dr. Abdul still with us? Sir, did you get that question, sir? Hello. All right. If Dr. Abdul is not ready for us now, okay. Let me go to Mr. Ogumewa, sir. I hope you are still with us. Oh, Mr. Ogumewa is not online at the moment. Okay. Engineer SB, Said Balogun, please. We have the following questions actually, and that has to do with the fact that some of the things that you mentioned. Now, the question on the challenge of poverty, that how can we cope, or how are we expected to acquire some of these skills, looking at the challenge of poverty ravaging or affecting our society today. Majority of the Nigerian populace are actually very poor. So don't you think that would can actually debar us from acquiring these necessary skills? Or how do we go or probably get away from acquire these skills regardless of the challenge of poverty? Let me put it that way.
Well, typically, poverty is relative, but I believe in the process of acquiring knowledge through the internet, for example. So I believe, those who have joined today's session already have a connection to the internet. So that means they've been able to cross the barrier of at least having some form of access to the internet. So when you have set your goal, it means, goal setting is very important, because that's what defines what exactly are you even going out to look for. So if you set a goal, for example, five tasks that would make you achieve your goal, when you're spending your money, your hard-earned money, that little resource you have, you are going to optimize it. You will maximize the use of it for the purpose of that goal. So it's about building efficiency into the resources that we have. So when you achieve task one, there is a possibility of your task one laying the foundation for task two. But without setting your goal from the beginning, then you will tend to waste resources looking for a direction. And then by the time you probably find a direction, either technology has moved or you have exhausted the limited resources you have. So what I would say more is, let's look for means of optimization. That's one. Two, let us look for means of collaboration. So if we are three on a journey, I have 1 gig of data. My partner, Mr. B, has another 1 gig of data. Mr. C has a 1 gig of data. Then why should I download exactly the same thing that Mr. B and C will download if we have the same goal? Then we can collaborate. I will download part 1, Mr. B will download part 2, and C will download part 3, and then we can share it through Wi-Fi or USB or something, and then we have access to some of the resources we need. So collaboration is another important part, of achieving your goals through technology. Many times you cannot do it alone. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Angela SB, please, very quickly, let me quickly add this to your question, perhaps, so that you can take some of them. Now, someone is asking that how can online learning be effective when most students don't have phones?
So like I've mentioned before, it's the ineffectiveness of online learning is even beyond phones, because even those who have the phones, they can switch to a game in the process, and you'll be playing, and nobody knows anything. So they're not even learning. They have just logged in, but they are not learning. So it's beyond the phones. Of course, without the phone, you can't even join.
Yes.
And that's where I started the definition that in each respective, so there are some schools today that digital devices had been part of, mandatory devices that the students must have before they can even, take part in the, be admitted into that school, for example. So in such place, it's not a challenge. But for schools where it was never part of their, what do you call it? For me, online learning is practically, it's not going to cut across. And that's why maybe something like radio, you can learn through radio, but the feedback mechanism does not exist. So that's going to be a one-way communication.
All right, sir.
So whatever they have,
okay.
they would live within their means and ensure that they get value from the little that is available through the radio or TV. Thank you.
All right, sir. Then add this to it, sir. Someone here is asking that you advocated local content by our own researchers, teachers, instructors, that with the plethora of online programs or content already in the social space, how competitive can our local content producers be within the global space? And do you have probably vivid examples of local content producers that have actually, held their, held sway within the global space?
Well, I'm throwing a challenge to us or to the teachers, and those in the educational system and the business of education. The content that we need today, I stand to be corrected, that fits our syllabus. For example, what do you call it? These primary subjects, national values, right? Are
Yes,
we
sir.
going to tell someone in UK to build the content for our national values? I mean, the answer for me is going to be no. So it's an opportunity. It's an untapped area that we need to tap into. So it's just like some years ago or decades ago, 90-something% of the films that people would watch in Nigeria were all foreign content. And then the local industry developed itself and started making content that's usable. So we have to start from a place, and it's not going to happen overnight. If you're a good maths teacher and you know there is a way you can teach mathematics effectively, then you can produce the content. Or if you run a school and you believe you can produce content that can be used by other schools, you can produce the content, and there are means of marketing content digitally. So once your content is addressing the problem and you're able to bring it to the face of the audience that needs it, then you have successfully produced a content that can be marketable, or you can leverage on that content to build your own brand name. Thank you.
All right, sir. Let me add one more. I hope my trouble is not too much. I'm trying to satisfy some of our participants here. Now, there is this question. I want to probably take it for you to take it together. Now, looking at the nature of schools in Lagos State. Now, we are talking about online learning. Now, to what extent have you been able to build the capacity of our teachers in terms of ICT, skills, to be able to cope with this online learning, one? Then number two, looking at the nature of schools in Lagos State, do we even have the infrastructure to really say that we actually want to integrate ICT into our teaching and learning process? Engineer SB.
Well, I'm afraid I may not be able to answer that question because I'm not directly involved, in that, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the government. Okay.
Okay.
So
All right.
all I can say is efforts to make digital learning possible. First, we must know that nobody was aware that there is COVID coming. And like we've outlined, the learning process is bi-directional. So we are talking about gadgets for students at home, for example. And then even when you have the gadgets, you're talking of having power to power the devices. There are some obstacles that has to be crossed. But what we could say is that prior to the COVID-19, the state already made efforts to equip the teachers, at least in batches. I'm aware of the Eco Excel, tablets that were produced, and instructors were trained on how to use this, in the organization of their teaching process. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to believe Engineer Abdul is with us now. Hello, sir. Okay. Dr. Abdul. Hello, Dr. Abdul. Okay. Let me check if Mr. Ogumewa is back on. I still don't have Mr. Abdul. Okay. Prof, sir. Is Prof there with us?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, sir. There is this particular question that I have. The question is that you, as a professor in the university, that you're a critical schedule holder, what are you doing to take your field and your students to the future, the field of pharmacology, in which you're a professor? Can you probably share an experience of what you specifically are doing to take your field and your students to this future that you have described for us?
Yeah. Thank you very much. That was a nice question. I was just seeing it on the screen. I'm attempting to answer it by typing. One important thing we're trying to do at the moment is to identify what skills our students need. Once it is, you see, curriculum review is a process we undertake in the university, and we're currently doing that. We're analyzing into the future to see what skills our people, for example, students of pharmacology, would need. When I interact with students, or when our colleagues interact with students, one of the things we shared with ourselves is you pass on the skills which you know, which are outside the curriculum at the moment. If the curriculum is not accommodating it, you have it in practice. So you are closely in relation with your students, giving them critical thinking and skills by ensuring that even your presentation in the class offer them the opportunity to first think deeply before you start to download what you know. Ask the students to get engaged in certain things. For example, I'm coming to a class and for the first time, my student is being exposed to pharmacology, and maybe you're willing to ask and say, let me break this down to you. You know what pharmacology is? This is pharma, and this is logy, and then the student ordinarily picks from there. Then I ask the student, what do you even imagine that pharmacology is? That's a bit of critical thinking being sold into the student's sphere of understanding. Well, maybe that's not going to be part of the note. Of course, several soft skills can be passed on to students, and they start to review to understand your lessons and your perception, and you're engaging them into the future, seeing what they will need in the future. So some of them are still presently skills that are transferred, those soft skills that we're talking about. And the moment you interact with your student very regularly, not the kind of teacher-centered, let the student be the one first driving the knowledge forward, saying exactly what he knows or she knows, and then you're able to now move the child towards other areas and let her think or let him think through So that thinking exploration, that ability to think, ability to decipher, ability to look into the environment and say, okay, I can relate what I'm learning to what is in the environment. That is the stage we are at the moment, till we will find a review of curriculum. And I really appreciate what our special advisor said. I must tell you, content development is crucial to us in this country. I can't be teaching a student A for apple when the student has not seen apple. But my student has seen orange, and he has seen some other things. So I think there is a lot to talk about this. It may not be just one-off like we're doing now, because it's going to take time. We really need to decipher. Let our audience be able to marry or relate with whatever we're saying in a manner that they can, it is systematic. I wouldn't like to rush the answers, but the core of it is this, that at the moment, most teachers who are conscious of the future are transferring the skill and knowledge about that future into the current curriculum in a manner that the students have the gain, even when it is not read in the textbook. So we got to do mentorship as a way of transferring. Then as the future comes, we'll design the content local so that our students can relate to their environment better and can think about solving problems without we being there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, sir, let me quickly add this to in one question. I would like that you probably help us in answering them, since Engineer Abdul is not on ground, sir. Sir, the first one has to do with the fact that, is there an institution around that probably one can learn some of these new and emerging skills that you talked about, like all these soft skills, creative thinking, corporate problem solving, and the likes? Then are there other, what beneficial things are some of these? Are there things that probably students or people can learn via social media? Because someone is asking that what beneficial activities or skills can be learned via social media. So I would appreciate if you can probably pick those two questions together, sir.
Thank you very much. From the rear, there is hardly any skill set that will not be, that social media will not be able to convey. May not be in its entirety, but it's also feasible that some of the learning can be done on social media or other medium that we are going to use as we graduate. Because today now, social media has become a learning tool, not only just for socializing, but we've seen it as learning. Some schools are started using it for teaching. My children are also being taught from school from it, using it. So it is very easy. And then the audio that is presented along with it gives it a way of by which the teachers can express themselves while receiving from the students after collecting some homework and then sharing with the students. So there's a lot of back and forth sharing that has to come in that thing. So about social media, it's still feasible. It's possible for us to learn from it. I have mentees that are also relating with me. I share things with them on social media, using the social medium, and then we interact. So the skills is the person passing it per se. It's been just conscious that I want to pass this skill to the person. But about the universities, there are several universities today that are building capacity to run courses which are integrated skill sets for every of these. It is not something you just go and learn like that. You'll say, okay, I want to teach you about critical thinking. Something like that. Well, somebody will be able to say theoretically, but the practice of it is what is very crucial. So we, the teachers, are the first harbinger of those skills. If we don't have it, we don't pass it. If we have it, then we'll be able to pass it. Either consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously, it gets to the students and the students' orientation changes. So and there are other key areas which we can use to drive such. For example, projects, research projects that students do in the university. Those people who have ability to keep them together in an environment to say, solve this problem for us, indirectly building in such students at undergraduate level some critical thinking, not just, oh, what is, just go and get questionnaire and do. No, there is a problem. There must be a problem that initiates thinking. So we must be able to present to the student, there is this problem. What do you feel about it? How do you think we can go about it? That's why the fact that the teacher knows he's not the first to drive it. He's the student that say, okay, sir, I think I can get it done through the. In fact, in some of the situations, we find the student coming with better solution than whatever you had in mind. So we must be able to spur it in them. 5, 10, 15, 20 years of exposure to academics. These students are very good. Many of them are better than us if they had all the necessary skills required of them. If we have passed it earlier, they will be better than us. they can solve problems. So I believe strongly that as of today, I can't tell you this university has everything. No, but I know pockets of those skills and skill transfer is available in our universities today. We're hoping for a university of the future where every of these things can be put together, embedded in the curriculum of teaching. May Allah help us.
I mean, Jazakumullah khairan. We are challenged with time, but I appreciate all the comments that we have here for all of us, especially like for those that even ask. There are still some other questions, but because of the challenge of time, I might not be able to take some of them. Some are actually pieces of advice, like the ones that say that probably people like SB and Mr. Ogumewa should probably assist to probably put more pressure on the government to invest more of our resources on the critical ICT infrastructure for our schools, and at the same time they should also try to put pressure on the government in terms of developing or interest in artificial intelligence and other critical skills like that for our school system. And at the same time, we also have these that for people like that, because they are closer to the government, that they should try to put pressure again on the government in terms of improving the curriculum for ICT in our school system. So it's not just about those in government alone, including those teachers too. They can use whatever means they have through the zonal directors, the tutor generals. Let them get this message up there. Probably, hopefully, it will get to where we want. And that is one other one. And this is actually a challenge to the new cabinet, that the incoming cabinet needs to really take up the challenge of human capital development, especially in the area of building the skill set of members of MSS in these new areas that we talked about. That probably you can organize human capacity building skills, sessions or workshops or seminars to be able to improve, the capacity of members in these areas. And so many other questions, like the question of why is it that our universities are unable to, leverage on ICT, especially during this period of pandemic? Why is it that all our universities are shut and nothing is actually going on, while other places all over the world are actually utilizing ICT? But because of the challenge of time, we would like to actually stop the issue of question and answer here. Then again, apart from Prof also says, that apart from the government, everything is not about government. We also need to look at ourselves. We need to build our own capacity ourselves. So let us also see what we can do individually on our own in order to improve our own capacity. If we improve our capacity, we will be the first beneficiary of this. It's not the government that will benefit from it. If you improve your capacity in terms of your creative thinking skills, your analytical skills, your critical thinking skills, your problem solving skills, and so many others like that, your knowledge of the internet of things, and so many others like that, you'll be the first beneficiary, because you would improve your income earning potential, and that's one way or the other can actually even enhance economic standing in the society, and so many others like that. So let us not put everything on the doorstep of the government. At least on our own, we buy our recharge cards and things like that. So but then our universities shut down during COVID-19. It shows how well we are not prepared to. It also shows the level of thinking that we have within our university system. Those who are managing our universities only shows that that is the level at which they are thinking, and they really cannot rise above some of these, ordinary or mediocre levels of thinking that we have in the society. And the moment our institutions don't get it right, automatically society itself cannot get it right, and that is why we are where we are. Our ivory tower have actually become a haven of corruption. So that is nothing you can now pontificate for those out when you yourself you are not clean. May Allah we were unable to answer the question. Many people ask this question on the issue of the fact that he talked about collaboration, especially for project, classwork, assignments, and the likes like that. That if that is what we are trying to, do you think, people ask that, does that recommendation really suit unique of education in Nigeria. At this juncture, I'd like to call on Mr. Abdul Kabir Kuye to actually give us the vote of thanks as we are trying to round off this particular session. Mr. Kuye. Hello, sir. Oh, I don't have Mr. Kuye here at the moment. So, Mr. Kamaldeen Abiona, the Director of Studies, please, can you probably assist us in giving the vote of thanks, sir?
Okay, good.
Mr. Abiona.
He's not available.
He's available. Okay. He's available. I can see. So, Mr. Abiona, the door, sir. Please give us the vote of thanks, sir.
Alhamdulillah, we give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has made it possible for us to reach this particular time. We appreciate all our discussants, guest lecturers. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to
Are you still there?
more than 2 hours now. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All we have learned here is not just to listen to it alone, but it requires that we actually see to how we can benefit from it. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it a beneficial one for us. So that after some times, in maybe a year time, we'll be able to say, yes, alhamdulillah, that I actually attended such and such program. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us vanguard of change in your life. Now, jazakumullahu khairan.
All right, thank you very much for doing that. Mr. Abdulwasa Mudathir, please, can you give us a closing dua so that we can suspend this session for other programs? Or except, and you can also add other pieces of information that you have for participants as far as this year's conference is concerned.
Wa alaikum
assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First, I want to add to the appreciation by thanking our guests. Some of them received the information very late, in about 48 to 24 hours ago. So we really appreciate their time and their sharing of knowledge with every one of us. And the information we have is that for members that are delegates to the conference, you should be receiving the login details for the conference proper, which will be happening tomorrow in your emails. And for other general members, the leadership of the society will give us direction on what to do to be part of the conference. So that's the information we have. So tomorrow is the final day of the conference. We'll be having the election conference where we'll be electing the new officers that will share the leadership of this society, Lagos Tertiary unit, for the next 3 years, inshallah. So let's all be part of it. Let's publicize the conference very well, and let us be also share information about it. So we thank every one of us. We thank the speakers, the keynote speaker, Professor Ahmed Aliji, the discussant, Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, for his presence, Engineer Said Balogun, and also Mr. Sulaiman Ogumewa, PhD in inshallah, soon, very, very soon, inshallah. And also I want to appreciate the moderator for his time, Doctor, yes, I can also use doctor for you, Dr. Abdul Hakim Olubumi Kosi. So thanks for the well-moderated event. To all those who have attended this program too, we say thanks a lot for being part of us. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward us all abundantly. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا. اللهم اغفر لنا والى الحق ولا تكن مستقيم. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره حسنه عذاب النار. سورة العصر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Infonet, sir, very quickly, because you said people should share information about the conference. Is it open to everybody online tomorrow?
That question is to the leaders of the society, the leadership at the lower hierarchy, the central branch, institution, and the councils. The delegates who they nominated to be at the conference, so they should inform them properly the details about the conference.
Okay, it's all right. Thank you very much for that clarification, because it's when you said we should share information about the conference, some people will say, oh, can I inform others? At least they can log on. So at least for those that are qualified to attend, so that information is for you. Please, for the leaders in the lower levels of the society, the area councils, and the central branches, as well as the high institution branches, ensure that all your delegates that are supposed to participate in the conference are well acquainted of the information and the links to it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease our affairs, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us right in the choice of the new set of leaders for the society. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assist us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So over to you now. I think you can end the meeting, sir.